Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going back in time 4 years. Back to the very first Dark Souls challenge run I ever did. Look at this sweet boy. Look how innocent he is. How uncoordinated. How suboptimal. And to think that I considered myself good at Dark Souls. How far we've come in 4 short years. Cringe thumbnails, font choices, and voiceovers aside, this run was a complete mess. And now, with several years of challenge running and further research under my belt, it's time we come full circle and show the world how much we've improved. Can you beat Dark Souls 1 with only fist weapons? You sure can. Now let me show you how.
But first, a word from today's sponsor, Wand. Do you struggle to squeeze game time into your busy schedule? Me too. And it's literally my job sometimes. I mean, look at this. How am I supposed to play all these games? I could play 1 game a day and not be done for years. And that's just game quantity. God help you when you actually open one of them. How am I supposed to find 500 hours to play through Terraria in its entirety? Actually don't look at that. Well, fret not, my fellow backloggers. There's hope. Gone are the days of editing INI and JSON files, downloading suspicious folders onto your computer, or pretending that you understand how save editing works. Because with Wand, all you need to do is turn on your game, press Alt-W to open Wand's overlay, and start adjusting your experience instantly. Want to experience the story of Baldur's Gate 3 but don't have more than 30 minutes a night? Easy fix. Just press Alt and W and make it so that you get double XP or maximum companion approval. Tired of everyone in Stardew Valley running away from your love and affection? Stop them in their tracks. And you know what? Give yourself unlimited energy to work on your farm while you're at it. They're not going anywhere. You got time. Want to play Silksong but your brain is dumb and won't let you play a series out of order? No worries. Just turn on Hollow Knight and give yourself unlimited Geo to eliminate all that unnecessary grinding, then use the in-app map to find and keep track of all the items and bosses that you're missing. Wand also lets you test out any wacky idea you might have. For example, what if 6 from Little Nightmares had mad hops? Or what if Sekiro had a dedicated flamethrower weapon that didn't run out of ammo? You can even embrace your inner Firebomb Academy scholar and turn on unlimited grenades in XCOM. Go on, do it. You won't. Whatever your single-player game of choice, Wand has got you covered. And even if you don't want to change the game itself, Wand offers several other resources to help you avoid burnout, like maps and guides. If that sounds appealing to you, use my link wand.gg/thebacklogs, or click the link in the description or pinned comment down below to get Wand for free, and play games your way.
So, fist weapons. Suggested by several commenters on our last How to Beat video, these weapons are what I would call not good. Later iterations of the fisticuffs were massively improved, both in regards to their damage and their movesets, but in Dark Souls 1 they were pretty shit. There's only 4 fist weapons in the game, technically 5 if you include your bare fists, and we'll cover their strengths and weaknesses as we go through the game, but if you're watching this video in hopes of finding a way to make only fist weapons a viable build, you might be a bit disappointed. In regards to the run itself, the biggest roadblock in the entire challenge will likely be the Asylum Demon, mainly because the only weapon at our disposal is our bare fists, which do a whopping 30 damage with a plunging attack, and 2 damage otherwise. You can throw a left jab as well, but it only does 1 damage and can't be chained into a flowing combo of any kind, so I wouldn't bother with that. Its main purpose is poise damage, and even that's pretty negligible on its own if you're bare fisting. But after 13 minutes of mashing the attack button a grand total of 393 times, the Asylum Demon will eventually go down. And if we do the rest of this run correctly, that's the longest fight we'll ever have again. Now, if you're just in it for the lulz and aren't taking yourself too seriously, you do have 2 more options available to you. The Pyromancy Flame, which is technically just your fist on fire, does a whopping 7 damage per swing. Hot damn, am I right? That said, that is 3.5 times more damage per swing, which means your fight should, in theory, be 3.5 times shorter. Just food for thought. In that same vein, one could use the Cleric Talisman as a fist weapon as well, but this thing actually does less damage than your bare fist, probably because you're essentially wrapping your fist in cloth. So yeah, don't do that. Anyway, back to normal strategies, let's talk about your starting class. Funnily enough, any class will work fine so long as you take the Master Key, and the reasons for this are twofold. The first reason is because we will be making a mad dash to Andre from Havel's Tower. Just sprint your way through the Darkroot Basin, up to the Undead Parish, and with amazing chest ahead, we now have access to the first actual fist weapon of the game, the Cestus. Sold by our friend here for a measly 200 souls, the second reason you can pick any class you want is because of its requirements. Requiring 5 strength and 8 dexterity to wield, literally every single class in the game meets those requirements. So there's no wrong choice. There's better choices, but no wrong ones. If you want to optimize the hell out of your run, your best bet is to pick a class that has the most strength and dexterity possible. since the Cestus scales equally with both stats. I personally like the Warrior class, since it has the best of both worlds, and I'll be needing both stats to show off all the other weapons throughout the run. But spoiler alert, you'll want a class that has higher dexterity if you want the most damage output. More on that later. In any case, we've gone from 2 damage to 76 in the blink of an eye. Truly massive gains. Granted, these gains aren't outputting significant damage anytime soon, even with backstab multipliers, but with fisticuffs now in hand, we can at the very least show off the primary power of the Cestus, its stagger potential. In later games, the fists are a monster in this regard, stun-locking enemies into oblivion despite their lesser damage. And in Dark Souls 1, it's no different. However, unlike the later games, the moveset in Dark Souls 1 leaves a lot to be desired. Your light attack is a simple punch and backhand attack, your strong attack is a straight punch forward, and your left hand is a weak jab and a parry. There's no way to two-hand fist weapons, and while their attack speed is quicker than most weapons, this is countered by the fact that their range is absolutely garbage. At this point in the run, you've got 2 options. You can start dumping souls into strength and dexterity, or you can save your souls and use them at Andre to upgrade the weapon itself. Personally, my vote is for option 2, considering the Cestus can break Taurus Demon's poise and doesn't really need any help doing it, but you do you. And after repeatedly punching the Taurus Demon in the groin, we can move right along. We make a quick stop at the Armored Pig Arena to pick up the basement key, and with that now in our possession, we can upgrade our Cestus to +5 and move along to the next big upgrade of our build. Oh, make sure you bitch slap the pig on the way down though. That's super important to the run. And after failing our veterinarian exam, we can push forward to the lower undead burg, where we proceed to not go fight the Capra Demon, but rather take a hard right, making sure to disrespect all the enemies along the way. And with that done, we now have access to the female undead merchant. What up, girl? You got that fire paper for me? Ah, yeah, that's the stuff. Thanks, babe. So, let's talk resins. One of the consumables that I always forget exists due to their relatively high cost per use, the charcoal pine resin takes our damage from an underwhelming 36 to a beautiful, breathtaking 59. I know, I'm impressed too. But in all seriousness, we have to look at the situation objectively. For 500 souls, our damage almost doubled, and in fights where whittling down your enemy as quick as possible is desired, like the gargoyle fight, that could make or break a boss attempt. According to the wiki, the charcoal pine resin adds a flat 80 fire damage to our weapon for 60 seconds. Obviously, the enemy you're punching's fire defense comes into play, but at least we know where the damage is coming from now. Normally, applying this resin to such a fast weapon would be a huge boon, as this kind of consumable benefits faster weapons more than slower ones. More hits in a short amount of time means rapidly accumulating returns. But the gargoyles are actually one of the worst bosses to show this on, since they constantly dip and dodge around, their hitboxes aren't easy to hit with a fist weapon, and the fact that there's 2 of them means you can't get any sort of attack flow going. Annoying, but not impossible. And with their 10,000 souls in our pocket, we've got a new mission. Depending on how much you've been scrimping and saving, you either have quite a bit of grinding ahead of you, or none at all. And once we get our souls up to 20,000, we can buy the Crest of Artorias from Andre, make our way into the Darkroot Forest, and carefully sprint past all of the Forest Covenant groupies. More carefully than that, please. And after praying to the Eternal Cat, we now have access to our new best friend, Shiva of the East. Well, sort of. We do have a brief conversation with him here, but what we actually need to do is sprint on over to the back door of Blighttown and head down the elevator there. And at the bottom of the elevator, there's our boy. Happy to see us and ready to peddle his ill-gotten goods. Because not only does he have one of the better gestures in the game, but for a cool 5,000 souls, Shiva will sell you the best fist weapon as well, the claws. So long as you have at least 14 dexterity, you now have the last fist weapon you'll need in your hands. Why? Simple really, it's just better. It has B scaling with dexterity, does bleed damage, and has better reach than the Cestus by a long shot. The moveset is relatively similar, as is the attack speed, so there's no real changes there, outside of the strong attack being a wide swipe instead of a straight punch. The left-hand moveset doesn't have much going on, consisting of a simple swipe and a parry, but there is one weird part of the claws moveset, the roll attack. It has you roll again, then lunge out with your claws. Very strange addition to an otherwise normal moveset. I'm almost positive the extra roll doesn't have any iframes, so its only purpose is a little extra distance and a thrusting attack. I have a love-hate relationship with this particular move. More often than not, it threw me off my rhythm. 9 times out of 10, I just wanted to dodge an attack, then do a normal swipe, and instead ended up rolling further into my enemy, putting me in a bad position. But if you dodge roll away from an enemy and then attack, it actually works really well, letting you dodge the attack and quickly follow up to get you right back in the fight. Not useful all the time, but very good in specific situations. That Stray Demon fight was with a completely unupgraded claw, by the way. Bleed OP. Considering this weapon will likely be our bread and butter for the rest of the run, we give it the attention it deserves, then go about the early game clearing up any bosses we missed. Unfortunately for us, the bleed damage is usually just a boon against enemies, not bosses, because a frustrating number of Dark Souls bosses are immune to status effects. But with the souls we get from here on out pumped into dexterity, hopefully the claw's scaling will be enough to make up the difference. Sadly, this level of resistance is going to be the norm from here on out. In regards to the rest of the build, there's not a whole lot we can add to it to make it better. There's very few rings that help it along, and there's only one piece of equipment that boosts fist weapon damage. But that's all the way in the second half of the game, and isn't worth thinking about just yet. For now, your only mission in life is to pump dexterity and push through the game as fast as you can. A simple task on paper, but a bit harder than you'd think in practice. You know, the more I use this weapon type, the more I remember how unbalanced Dark Souls 1 was. Weapon types just aren't made equal, and fist weapons definitely needed more time in the oven. But I promised to show you how to beat the game with fist weapons, and while it won't be easy, hopefully the next few steps will help make it easier. And our first step here is to make sure you're human and get invaded by Kirk down in the depths. Sorry, old sport, but this won't be the last time I humiliate you on screen. The next step is to talk to Domhnall. Hi, Shawaim. Domhnall here sells a very important item, the gold pine resin. It's a bit pricey at 1,000 a pop, and he only holds 3. But these are a dramatic upgrade to our charcoal pine resin. Sadly, there's only 4 ways to get it. There's 3 hidden in a chest in the Undead Burg, the 3 we can buy off Domhnall, and 5 that you can buy from Elizabeth the Mushroom Lady all the way in the DLC. But the only unlimited way to get more is to farm, of all things, mushrooms, specifically the big ones. There's an 80% chance that they'll drop 1, and a 20% chance that they'll drop 2. That's probably the most generous drop rate I've ever seen in a Dark Souls game. Now you can kill the little ones too if you're feeling particularly vindictive, but they've only got a 5% chance of dropping 1 pine resin, so I wouldn't waste your time.
Lemon, you motherfucker, what are you doing to these mushroom babies?
Babs, what the hell are you doing here?
Ma come ti permetti? So stronzo! Pezzo di merda, coglione che non sei alto, ma cosa fai?
Oh god! Crazed Italian woman breaking into your home aside, these resins are well worth the effort to get them. Much like the charcoal pine resins, they add a flat lightning damage to your weapon. But unlike the charcoals, it's a flat 150 lightning for 1 minute instead of 80. And considering a good number of bosses in the game are weak to lightning, that's a big deal. As an example, the Gaping Dragon takes 91 damage when you use fire damage against it, but 166 when using lightning. Quite the jump in damage. And with that new bit of damage added to our arsenal, we're officially at the point in the run where we just need to push. Thankfully, most of the bosses from here on out don't move all that much, which means you can just empty your entire stamina bar into them more often than not. And with the 2 Bells of Awakening rung, it's time to push on to the halfway point of the game. I take a quick detour to poke fun at Ceaseless Discharge, because why not, and immediately face the karma of my actions when I realize I didn't deal with Lautrec before ringing both bells. And I forgot to get chocolate chips when I was at the store. God, what a day. Shawaim is at Firelink now, which is nice, but unfortunately his moving doesn't give him any new inventory. So Mushroom Murder and Babs of Beatdowns are still a prominent pillar of my future. But there's one other thing we need to do on the way to Anor Londo. If we make a quick stop across the gap here, we can talk to the crestfallen merchant here and buy a green Titanite shard. For later, you understand. From there, it's just your typical / that we're used to. It's not much, but it's honest work. And with the Iron Golem dead, we've actually just found the first piece to our next weapon. So please don't pop that boss soul just yet. After getting distracted in the Painted World trying to bleed Priscilla. Jesus, way to go, Lemon. The comps are gonna have a real field day with that one. I decided to skip straight to Ornstein and Smo. Because why not? Smo is very susceptible to bleed damage, making him a very easy target. As for Ornstein, he too could be bled, so it's just a matter of taking your time, though in retrospect, it probably would have been easier to kill Ornstein first and Smo second. Ah well, a first try is a first try. But with ONS dead, it's time to focus on our next weapon, the Dragonbone Fist. Made from a +10 fist weapon and the Iron Golem's soul, this thing is... Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this thing is a complete waste of time. Not only do you need 20 strength to even wield the damn thing, but it takes dragon scales to upgrade. Yup, that old chestnut. Now you could try to farm the baby drakes in the valley, but these things have just as bad a hitbox as their adult brother up in the Undead Burg, and trying to grind out the 5% drop chance with claws is just... yeah. But there's another way. If you really want to upgrade your dragon weapon, there's actually 10 dragon scales hidden around the world. The first is here in Blighttown, the second can be traded with Snuggly the Crow with an egg vermifuge, which you can find in the Painted World or get from Eggman and Quelaag's domain, and the third can also be found in the Painted World, although you'll need to peel that one off a dragon to get it. Unfortunately, that's the last of the easy scales to get, because after that, you need to head to Ash Lake to take on the Hydra. This thing sucks to fight on a good day, and doubly so with fist weapons. It has too much health, and its heads have such shitty hitboxes and wiggly patterns that fighting it is just negative fun. At least it drops 2 scales, I guess. And with it dead, we can now loot the rest of the area. There's a scale just around the corner that it was guarding, another scale hidden inside the nearby log, and one more tucked away over the ash dune just past the man-eater clams. After that, you'll need to kill the dragon in the Valley of Drakes, but due to its position, you'll need some strategy to do it. Personally, I found it easiest to stand back just out of reach directly in front of it, which lured out the poison breath attack, then ran up to his hand and hit it 3 times before running back to my starting position to complete the loop. Repeat ad nauseum, and enjoy your spoils. The last scale is in the Darkroot Basin, inside another Hydra. Thankfully, this one has a lot less health than the previous Hydra, but if you can't do enough damage to kill it outright, you'll be stuck trying to cut off its final head. You know the one. Annoying, but doable. And with it dead, that's 10 scales. No farming needed. And now to show you all why that was a complete waste of time. Not only is its moveset slower than other fist weapons, but the weapon itself is 8 times heavier, which means your entire build has to be rebalanced. But Lemon, what about the Shoryuken attack? Yes, I know it exists, but it really shouldn't. It does a paltry amount of damage for the amount of stamina and time it takes to use, and I guarantee that most enemies will knock you out of the animation before you can do it anyway. What's worse, it simply can't outdamage my claws. The base damage is less than my claws base damage at plus 10, and while it does have S scaling with strength, I can tell you that even max stats wouldn't carry it to victory in the long run. Combine that with the aforementioned attack speed, weight, and difficult upgrade materials, and it's a meme weapon through and through. But hey, at least we can put that green Titanite to use and make our Cestus divine. It won't be very strong, but it'll help keep our needle fight nice and tidy later on. But with that thrown in the bottom of our junk box, we've got one more weapon to look at, the Dark Hand. There's 2 ways to get one, and neither of them are particularly fun. But if we take care to kill Sif before placing the Lord Vessel, and then head to New Londo to drain the lake, we can begin our next grind, Dark Wraiths. Their drop table consists of 3 things, Titanite chunks, Titanite slabs, and the Dark Hand itself. They're not particularly hard to fight, though you'll probably want to get good at parrying to make the most of your time. Oh, and beware the fact that they hunt in groups. Just a word of advice. If you're having trouble with the drop, don't worry. There's another way to guarantee that we get one, but you're not gonna like it. Oh hey, how about that? Guess I don't have to do option 2 anymore. Problem solved. Oh god, I have to do option 2 for the sake of footage, don't I? Alright, fine, but you all owe me for this one. Make sure to grab the very large ember, and upgrade your claws to plus 15. You'll need all the damage you can get, because the next step is fighting the 4 kings. It's time for a DPS race. Even with gold pine resin, this fight sucks ass. Your DPS is low, your reach is worse than usual because of how hard it is to tell distance in the abyss, and your stats are probably lower than usual due to fighting the 4 kings so early. This can be mitigated somewhat by using Havel's armor and just tanking through the fight, but still not a great time. How people used to kill this boss at low levels so they could join the Dark Wraiths early and invade new players in Undead Parish is beyond me. But with the 4 kings dead, we find a hidden NPC, Koth the Serpent. Not only does this NPC drop atomic-sized lore bombs about the true nature of the Dark Soul and humanity's past, which is actually pretty freaking awesome when you think about how many players have probably never seen this character before, but he also lets you join the Dark Wraith Covenant, which gives you a free Dark Hand just for joining. What a great guy. He still eats you though. Not sure why that's a staple in the Primordial Serpent lore, but you know. So, with that done, let's take a look at our new toy. And right away you're probably seeing some red flags. It does a whopping 200 damage right from the start, and has 999 durability, but don't let that fool you, because you'll also notice it has no scaling. What's worse, it can't be upgraded, so that 200 damage is all you get. If you place it in your left hand, you do get a little bit more weapon variety, with it acting as a shield of some kind, but it should be noted that the shield has no deflection, which means your enemies won't bounce when they hit you. The other unique thing about this weapon is that the strong attack is a grab, and when used against NPCs or invaders, will suck the humanity right out of them. Thankfully, this doesn't make them aggressive, so if you're low on humanity, this is a viable option. But it doesn't do anything against actual enemies though, so keep that in mind. As I discovered in my Dark Hand only run a while back, it's one of those weapons that's amazing if you use it in the early game, but drops off hard in the late game. Still manages to keep up with the +5 Dragonbone Fist though. God, that's upsetting. But with the Lord Vessel placed, there's only one more thing we can do to upgrade our build. I hinted at it before, but the last thing left to do is to kill Kirk. Again. After that, you just need to bleed down the Fire Sage, mash the attack button underneath the Centipede Demon until it stops wriggling, Then run your happy ass into the depths of Lost Izalith, where you'll murder one of the last normal witches that exists, then give Kirk one more stab for good measure. And once he's realized that he cannot, in fact, beat you, he'll completely hollow and die for good. Which means we can now loot that body. Just head on down to Quelaag's domain, just past the lady's bonfire, and you'll find his armor. But more importantly, you'll find his gauntlets. And these gauntlets have a hidden property. When worn, fist weapons do an extra 20 damage. I know, right? And don't worry, that 20 damage is affected by enemy defense, and doesn't apply to critical hits, the red tearstone ring, or any other damage formulas. Can't have fist weapons getting too overpowered, right? Sheesh, what a crock-a-pot. This poor weapon class just can't catch a break. And to be fair to Dark Souls' balance, I don't think it was ever supposed to. Due to their light weight and quick attack speed, I feel like fists were supposed to be that second weapon you hid in your back pocket. Probably designed around PvP more than anything else. Don't get me wrong, the claws certainly hold their own, and feel like the most developed weapon of the bunch. They do decent damage, have a range you can adapt to, and the bleed damage comes in handy more often than you'd think. But when you compare them to other weapons, it just kind of falls apart. That roll attack does have its place in faster, dodge-filled combat though. While it was mostly a hindrance in other boss fights, against Artorias, it finally felt useful, letting me dodge attacks and get right back into the fight. Again, I feel like this reinforces the idea that fist weapons are a PvP weapon more than anything else. But I'm also just one man with one experience. For all I know, I'm overlooking some key element to the fist weapons that makes them amazing. And it wouldn't be the first time. So if that's the case, please let me know. But if you ask me, this weapon type should be used for niche circumstances only. Creating an entire build around it does not make for an easy, or more importantly fun, time. And if you're looking for ways to beat Dark Souls 1, there's plenty of better options out there to try before you resort to this one. Ah well, at least the Hornet Ring riposte animation is brutal as hell. God, I love that ring. There is no better feeling than parrying the world, I tell ya. And so, the run comes to an end. Time to give Gwyn what's coming to— oh my god, I forgot Gwendolyn. Yeah! And with Gwyn taking every riposte directly to the face and groin, there you have it. Dark Souls 1 beaten with only fist weapons. Would I recommend fist weapons only? No. But would I recommend giving them a try and keeping one in your second weapon slot? Sure, why not? The extra poise damage might be just what you need for a particular enemy, and there's nothing quite as spooky as seeing a naked invader barreling at you with a pair of Wolverine claws glued to their hands. Hopefully you learned something new today, or at the very least understand the whys and why nots of if you should use fist weapons in Dark Souls 1. And who knows, maybe they'll be better in Dark Souls 2 and 3. Oh god, please help. Thanks for hanging out to the end. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.